Okay, welcome everybody to this video on church streaming, on what churches have learned in the past few weeks with the coronavirus changing operations, maybe changing them forever. So my name is Brian Blackmore. I'm the editor at Church Production Magazine, and I have with me representatives from 5 or 6 churches around the country. I'd like to introduce them. I'd like actually them to introduce themselves. So can we start first with Aaron Schwint?
Yeah, my name is Aaron Schwent. I am the creative arts pastor for Generation Church in Jupiter, Florida. We are a church of about 400 to 500 average weekend attendance at one location. And yeah, we're excited to be joining the conversation.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Let's go with John Spicer next.
Hey everyone, I'm John Spicer out of Mount Airy, Maryland, the owner of Broken Soul Audio and a volunteer at the Damascus Road Community Church in Mount Airy, Maryland. We have one location, about 2,000 attendees every week, and really blessed by God right now.
Awesome, thanks, John. Let's go with Larry Leake.
Okay, Larry Leake with Crossroads Fellowship in Raleigh, North Carolina. I manage the worship arts and production department here. And we have 2 campuses in town and multiple venues on one campus, and about 2,000 adults typically attend on a weekend.
Thanks, Larry. Don Smith.
Hey everybody, my name is Don Smith. I'm one of the executive pastors at Hope Community Church in the Raleigh area. We've got 5 campuses, 4 in the country, 1 in Haiti, and all around the Triangle area. We run around 12,000 people a weekend.
And what's your role there, Don?
I'm the executive pastor over creative ministries.
Okay, thanks, Don. Justin.
Yeah, I'm Justin Manny. I'm with the Summit Church. We're in the RDU, Durham, Raleigh area. We have 12 locations that meet here in the Triangle. And I say we're around 12 to 14,000 on a weekend across our 12 campuses. 2 of our campuses are in Spanish. 2 of our campuses are in prisons. So we cover the gamut.
Thanks, Justin. Okay, so I think everybody was streaming prior to the coronavirus, with the possible exception of Generations Church. Aaron?
Oh, we were streaming.
Oh, you were streaming?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
streaming to Facebook.
Let's go back and start with you. If how was your stream changed since the beginning of this coronavirus situation?
Well, so I came in August of this last year to Generation Church, and before that, they'd done a push into streaming a few years prior, and it was not a terrible quality thing, but kind of the investment had been made as technology was becoming more available, but we hadn't heavily invested in it. So it was fine for people who were part of the church, to check in when they were away on vacation or on the road. But it wasn't probably what I would call an attractional quality, where you were starting to have the technological problems were definitely a barrier for people that might be engaging with Generation Church for the first time.
So what have you done in the past few weeks or maybe since you've been there, but namely in the past few weeks, to improve that production quality to get to that attractional model?
Well, since coming, we've been getting ready to move into we're in the middle of a building project right now, and we've been kind of focusing on a lot of our live environments, trying to make advances in those areas. So we kind of not backburnered, but kind of sideburnered, our broadcast development. We were planning on working on that as we got into the new facility. And so this kind of hit us, and we were not prepared. We didn't have resources or capacity to make a big jump forward in broadcast equipment or switchers or things like that. So we were kind of in a 5 loaves, 2 fishes sort of things. And we had a couple of filmmakers in our church, one of who led our broadcast team, and they all had access to some Fuji DSLRs, the X-T3s, and some really good glass. And we had a family who loaned us a couple of Sony A7s, and so we just shot like a 5-camera shoot with DSLRs, and then just dumped it all into Premiere and edited the snot out of it. And we did also ingested using an X32 as a sound card, ingested all the audio, and we just did a mix down everything on Saturday and uploading videos by midnight.
So this workflow is since the coronavirus situation has come about?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Did you want to show us the clips that you had?
Sure. So I am not a huge share screen guy, but I'm going to give it a try. And let's see. So, all right, you guys will hopefully be seeing my screen. And so I've just kind of left, hopefully this is going to play. There we go. So we just do a little bit like this, and we basically set up in our lobby, put a little 8x8 platform out, set up a little mini studio sort of thing, and just started kind of shooting and recording. And we do the whole thing in kind of one take, so it kind of has that vitality. And that means every once in a while a mistake might slip in, but it feels live. We record the whole thing as one continuous flow. And it kind of brings some of that live, vitality to the recording.
Love it, Aaron. Shank, thank you for that. For those listeners out there, viewers, Generation Church and Aaron's input will be featured in the article in the May issue of Church Production Magazine. We were impressed when we saw the work that they're doing down there for a small church. So
Thanks.
Let's move on to John Spicer. Were you guys streaming before the coronavirus situation?
We were not streaming live, but we were doing on demand prior to this. We have a whole production capability in the facility because we actually have two spaces. We have the main auditorium, and then we have an overflow. So we've been doing live production internal for the overflow area for a while, and then doing on-demand podcast type stuff with the content. What this has done, though, is this has shifted us to now we're doing the entire service as an on-demand post-produced effort that then gets stuck out on YouTube for people to grab. And then we're also doing scheduled live streams of the of the pre-produced stuff through YouTube.
I saw your, I think it was either a Twitter post or a Facebook post from you this past weekend, John. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the workflow in your post-production work that I know you're
So the biggest change that has happened for us is traditionally on the audio side, we would just grab the 2-channel bus off of the house desk, and that's pretty standard. And for spoken word, it's pretty sufficient. What we've done since coronavirus hit is that we've now gone to full multi-track with a complete studio mix down of at least the worship content, and then the main teaching for those, and then they're folded back in by the production guys before they put the streams up for download. And it's been a very large, in some ways, learning curve because that obviously adjusts your timelines. Easter was a big production. There's 2 of us in the congregation that have studios. So we've been doing that and trying to, effectively Easter was like a 4-song EP that we put together. And I think one of the conversations this is forcing within our organization is to what level of quality is sustainable over a period of time, and how do you facilitate that regularly?
Yeah, John, just give us a window into how many hours that took for you to mix down your Easter service, because that was the crux of your post on Facebook.
Yeah, that was it was a lot of fun. It was, if I remember correctly, it was roughly 39 hours from downbeat to masters. It was about a 36-hour mix session. We had something like 167 tracks and a couple hundred plugins, and anybody that's used to kind of the post-production flow of audio gets that. And that was an all stops effort for Easter. And like I said, we're still trying to figure out that's probably not viable every week. But on the flip side, the reaction that we got from our Easter services was pretty impressive. And we're learning a lot about how does quality actually affect viewership. And that's one of the things our tech director's really been pondering lately is he's noticed as our quality has stepped up, our viewership has stepped up, and the engagement of the congregation has stepped up too, even though they're remote.
That's really interesting, John. Thanks for sharing. Larry, you guys were streaming beforehand?
Yes, we were streaming. And so probably 4 things we did in this process. Big one is we moved from SD to HD of all things. We were able to cobble together a system quickly with a studio camera and then just a couple miscellaneous cameras we had around, but we hadn't integrated into our system. So we pulled together a Blackmagic ATEM switcher, got these into the switcher, and started spitting that out and using Livestream Producer, and we go to livestream.com and Facebook through that. So that was one thing. We're in the middle of a fire restoration right now. And so we have no chairs in our worship center. We have no acoustic panels on the wall. And so we turned our worship center into a production studio, basically. So we've just kind of taken a hold of the room, and it's just ours for this purpose right now. So we bring teams in on Sunday morning and actually produce our service live rather than try to pre-produce it and pre-record it. We do that. Third thing we did was brought in some studio monitors to put right in front of the front of house console, and basically just mixing on the SD9 front of house console for broadcasts and not even running mains in the room. And fourth thing was we do a little pre-service, and we're getting ready to start doing a post-service kind of interview, lessons learned, that kind of thing. So that's set on the floor in the worship center. Then we go to the stage in the worship center for our team for the service itself, and then come back to a little set with the stage in the background. So those are the kind of things we've done, and most of them we're going to stick with.
That's really interesting, Larry. So the pre-service introduction and the service itself and the post service what we've learned thing, that's all live, and that's all it's all done in one stream.
Yes.
Really interesting.
So we got there's two of us that are on staff technically. They're kind of directing and calling cues and stuff, and it is working pretty well so far. So the desire for the pre-service interview, whatever, is to really increase engagement in social media platforms, get people clued in. Hey, you need to interact with each other and with the pastors that are online, and that kind of thing. Try to get more community going during the service. Thanks,
Larry. Don. Don's actually head of creative ministries at my home church, at Hope Community Church. So Don and I have a bit of a relationship. So thank you, Don, for joining us. So tell us a little bit more, in your words, what Hope was doing prior to coronavirus, and what has changed, through this evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, we were live stream and we weren't live stream at the same time. So about 2 years ago, Hope was live stream and decided to do an online campus, gethope.tv. We had really kind of mixed reviews on it. We had a lot of people that were using it as an excuse not to have to come to church anymore. And we would see that random Facebook post of someone's feet up on the TV while they're watching TV going, enjoy church today. And so the big debate about whether or not online campuses are actually enough to consider church. What are the other elements that need to happen in order for church to feel like this is an example of what we'd want to have out there, versus just an opportunity to not come to church, or I'm running late, so I'll just watch it on TV instead of, going to church. So for a while we shelved it, and then the world happened. And I think there was most of us collective Thursday, we said, hey, we're not doing church on Sunday. And in 3 days we reinvented church. And in the first week, it went well. We were glad we had some of the pieces already in place, because we needed to resurrect them and kind of refresh them a little bit. And we've just, ever since then been fine tuning. So our process is maybe a little different. Maybe not, I don't know. We film on Monday morning, all of the worship elements. And so I've got some pictures of that, if that's helpful, and some different pieces of it. And one of the tensions that we had as I was working through with some different friends and people that I connect with in that world, was everybody had started talking about, man, you got to do church different. It's got to be in a different room. It's got to be smaller. It's got to be more intimate. We can't do it on the main stage, all things like that. My tension was our people needed something that felt familiar in a world that no longer felt familiar. And so we felt like, man, what we want to do on a weekend experience is give them something that as much as possible can feel like hope to them, because that's what they're used to. Now we change a few things. Shots are tighter, things are different. Videos, the stories that we tell are told a little bit differently. We've got some backstage elements that we don't normally do in a weekend experience, that we help to do. But by and large, the weekend experience feels like hope. And that was our goal there. Then alongside that, we said, this is also our opportunity for our worship staff, who's always wanted to pursue kind of next level worship engagements, and what are different things that we can do with that. How can we then use those elements to create those more intimate experiences that people would have? And so Good Friday, we launched a Good Friday service, and about 15,000 people watched it. And it was like, we got unbelievable feedback from it. Because that's—
How was that different, Don?
I'll show you a picture if it's helpful. So see if I can do a share screen thing here. So first of all, this is, let's see, can you see that? Can you see a picture? So this is a typical like weekend setup. This is what we're doing. This is our production studio, like everybody else has said, where we've got a bunch of cameras that are pointing to the crowds, and you'll see they're very 6 feet apart, socially distanced on stage. We try to make sure we started getting some feedback. How close are people and things like that. So you'll see that, but there's cameras. That's what we shoot on Monday morning. Then our typical weekend, let me see if I can get to that, a new share. Let's see here. So this would be this past weekend. I'll speed through it a little bit, but you'll see I don't know if you can see Sam right now. And so the guy, so that's a typical weekend set for us with different camera shots. And so that's what that looks like. And that's very much an us feel. That's Hope, very much so, on a weekend. So there's that, but then as we decided to do the other pieces, they look a bit more like this. So that's more of a broken down feel, in a more living room environment. Things that our goal here was that we wanted, even as teaching happened, and maybe I can get forward to some of the teaching. Yeah. So okay. So teaching, as Chase is teaching in this context, we wanted the camera to feel like it was just one of the other people in the circle, and so we're creating more of I get to look in and feel like I'm part of a discussion and a dialogue that's happening. And so that was the goal there. And then it would go into some more music elements and some guided prayer times that we did. So yeah, that's what we do. So for us on Monday mornings, we record, and then we send that off to Nashville to some people that we've got down there that will take our multi-track and do a first mix. Sometime today, I will get that first mix in my Dropbox. I'll listen to it and give them mix notes along with our worship director. And he and I will put those together and then send those back, and we should have a final piece by tomorrow. Simultaneously, while that's happening, the video people are taking both the broadcast mix and then some different ISO cameras and making a better shot, a better holistic shot all the way through. And then they just line everything up. And then we have everything ready to go by Friday night. And our first service is on Saturday.
Thanks, John. Really interesting. Justin, tell us a little bit about what you guys were doing before and what you've learned through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. So before, we were streaming, obviously, campus to campus using Living as One. And so we had, honestly, end of last year, kind of transitioned over to them, really loved their product. And then for online, we were using livestream.com and their studio software to stream to live stream Facebook and YouTube. And on a normal weekend, we were only streaming our final service of the weekend, our 10:45 Sunday service. And it was just a one shot. And we kind of used it when we pitched the idea. We've been streaming for probably 2 years. A church like us, we've only been streaming to the web for about 2 years. We pitched it as, hey, we have missionaries all over the place. We have people who can't make it on a weekend. We want to be able to allow great engagement. And then at the same time, improve the product that we're giving to our prison campuses, because they're getting a mix down of the service at the end of the weekend. And so we had, a full broadcast mix room. We have a live person mixing broadcast, separate from the house feed. And we were running it that way live. And so the very first weekend of this, like Don was saying, that Thursday when we probably all got that call from our senior pastor, like, hey, we probably shouldn't meet this weekend. We just did that. Like, we brought the band in, we recorded the sermon, we did it all at one time. We pre-recorded it on that like Friday morning, and then we played it back at all 4 of our service times. That service for us clocked in at around 84 minutes, which that's like a normal, semi-normal weekend for us. And what we found was online, it just didn't translate. We lost people really quickly. Different than Don, it was more of like we need to figure out how to create small bite-sized chunks that keep people connected and engaged. And so what we've done is, like what you guys are saying, we come in on Monday or Tuesday and we pre-record all of our worship. It's very similar to what you did, Aaron. We have an X32 and we run all the tracks to an X32, and I didn't know it was that amazing. So, so we do that. I mean, we have like a 5 or 6, the number of cameras has increased every single week. As we've kind of gone, we had just, you know, our video production team, has just been able to get really creative. And so they're mostly, C100, C200, with, yeah, again, good glass. And we're able to just create like a really cool feel. We started out just in our normal green room and kind of a smaller kind of space. And we got the, are they 6 feet apart, comment like nobody's business. I mean, like really strongly. And so, you know, on social media, we've been very like vocal about like, hey, here's me actually measuring 6 feet between where we put people. Here's all the different steps that we've taken. And then for Easter, we obviously switched to a different spot. So
we even had our lead pastor on one of our Sunday services, like jokingly come out with tape measure and measure everything off, and we like B-rolled it during the middle of a song so that people would laugh about it.
So we actually moved just this past weekend for Easter. We were trying to figure out how do we do something a little bit different and a little bit the same way. So here, I got a little bit, I'll show you a little bit of a video. Let's see how this works. Desktop. Is that it? You got it? So, no?
Hit share.
Let me see, figuring it out here. Mine had audio, so I turned it on and then I couldn't hear you guys. I wasn't as prepared as. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'll send the video over to you, Brian, so if you want to like splice something in or whatever. But basically what we did this past weekend was we set up in like a more wide open, like our lobby. And it's a kind of a 2-story space, and shot all of that. This week we actually integrated a digital choir where we brought in, we sent out, hey, here's the click track, sing along to this song. And then we did like it looks like a Zoom call, and it's, you know, 50 people all singing. From a mix down perspective, we're recording into Logic. We've got 4 or 5 different people that kind of have investment in that, our band director, our audio director, and they kind of work through that. And then our video production team has just been killing it. Like, I mean, and again, long hours, because trying to mix down and figure out how to get it right. And, you know, we got random number of people. We've been trying to be really careful about the 10-person gathering number also, which is a little tricky when you have 6 people in your band and you've got, you know, you got to have people running stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but your worship leaders don't ever know the words to the songs, and they always need confidence. And so you got to have somebody still running Pro Presenter. It's unbelievable, right? Like, so, but what we've kind of like figured out, and again, I think as our quality level improved and as we figured out how to kind of hit a niche, we have seen much greater engagement. We do stream live at all of our service times. And then we have campus pastors that are live in the comments in Facebook and YouTube and on the live stream website, and they're answering prayer. And, you know, we've done this past weekend, we did like hey, text this number if you want to make a decision. And we had 199 people text in and, you know, ask for connection with our church in different ways. And so I think what we've been saying all along is that while it feels like everything's kind of been put on pause, God's not on pause, and he's still using all of this stuff that, you know, our teams are doing in really powerful ways that are pretty incredible. So
Justin, would you say your all's numbers are up?
Our stream numbers are significantly up.
Ours are too. And, yeah, very much so.
And then the other thing that we've been doing also is that I've been helping with our Spanish campus. Our Spanish campus was normally just streaming their sermon, one camera to Facebook. And so we've really upped the game. We've actually started just recording them in the same space. We have like this little Roland SDI, V1 SDI switcher. Takes like 4 inputs. So we give them the same set, but we're taking 3 cameras in, and we just live record that, like live switch that. And their numbers were like quadruple this past weekend of what they've been. And it's, you know, and their quality level rose, you know, significantly. So I do feel like, I mean, we heard the stats. Our creative director, Curtis Andresco, sent us a note from Facebook that right now, religious searches are the #1 thing on Facebook Live across the board, just in general. And so I think we're all primed and in a really good spot if we can leverage this technology to really reach people in ways that we probably weren't able to do before. I think people are captive. We have a little bit of a captive audience right now, right? They're kind of just scrolling Facebook on Sunday morning. And, you know, I know, let's say me, I took this past weekend and I was not a part of like making the stream happen. I watched about 17 different church streams this past weekend.
Absolutely.
Just scrolling.
I wonder if our numbers are up because of all of our friends that are watching our stuff.
I mean, yeah, for sure. So I think, you know, God uses this weird situation in really like powerful ways. And so we're excited to see where it goes over the next couple of weeks.
No doubt. All right. Thanks, Justin. So we've got about 5 minutes here. So I wanted to get to one last question and ask you about what has surprised you most? Has there been an event? Is there an aha moment that surprised you or that you didn't expect in these past few weeks through your streaming ministry? I'll throw that out to anyone.
You know what? I think for us, you know, being a smaller growing church, we just don't have a big staff team to fall back on this season. And so we have to we can't record until Saturday morning because our camera people they're hardworking. They're training really hard to become filmmakers. But Saturday is an incredibly long, sometimes close to 24-hour day. But it is amazing the way volunteers have stepped up, and you know, editors and audio editors and filmers. It has been so encouraging to see the kingdom buy-in that volunteers have, because sometimes I would just retreat to the economy of depending on staff, and not being able to do that in the season has been just an encouraging revelation.
Love it. Thanks, Aaron. Larry, did you want to add something?
Yeah, to me, I'd say the creative use of Zoom. I mean, like our Celebrate Recovery ministry, they have like jumped in it and figured out how to do their breakout groups in Zoom and conduct their large group meeting. And it's just an incredible technology, and people have grabbed onto it very quickly and very easily. So, you know, it's just pervasive throughout our organization and our culture now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. Honestly, the weekend experience for us has been kind of, I don't want to say it's what it was, but there's been things that we've learned, a ton of things we've learned, and that we would do differently, and we have done differently every single week. The things that have been surprising is I've gotten feedback from people in small groups and things like that will talk about, in some ways, people are more engaged in a Zoom meeting than they are even in a living room. And it's a different engagement. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just different. Because they said, you know, in this context, you're looking at a screen and everybody's looking at you, and you have to stay engaged. And so dialogue happens differently right now. If you're in someone's living room, you can look over here, you can look over there, and so it's easier to kind of disengage and re-engage and pop in, pop out. And we've watched people say, man, in a lot of ways, the online context has helped us in our dialogue with people. That was surprising to me.
I see two big ahas. One is, I think there's a lot of churches out there that think of streaming as an adjunct to what's happening on campus. And I think I've seen it in our organization, and I think there's other organizations out there that are having this aha moment where they're actually, because of this, they're realizing what their potential impact and reach is that they had actually never considered, because they think of their stream as, how do I get to my people who couldn't make it this week? Or how do I just try to extend my influence and maybe my geography? And now that this is our only venue and people are focusing on it more, I think a lot of them are realizing just what the potential is that is within our grasp for outreach all of the time. The other aha moment that I think is happening is there's a lot of repurposing of technical infrastructure within our churches right now to be able to facilitate streaming in a better manner. And I think there's this aha moment of, you know, we really need to make sure that all the time we fully understand our infrastructures and we know how our technology works within our walls so that we can make the best leveraging of it at any given moment based upon what God's called us to do. There's a lot of us will set up technology and it gets set. Either we'll have an integrator come in and they'll put it and it's set, and we use it week after week after week. And in many cases, especially in smaller venues, we digress from owners of the technology to users of that technology. So I think there's kind of a relearning curve going on right now with what people have within their facilities and figuring out how to best use it. And we're becoming masters of our own spaces again, which is a really neat thing to see.
Oh yeah, man. I had no idea that I could plug an X32 straight into a laptop and get 32 channels into Logic. Like, that's the most amazing thing to me. It was definitely an aha moment for us. Yeah. I'd echo, yeah, what you're all saying. I was really, really impressed and encouraged by our campus teams. Obviously, people are hurting and want connection right now, and they've done a really great job of leveraging Facebook and Zoom to have like online prayer nights and continue to still have touch points for people during the week. All of our small groups are meeting over Zoom. All of that stuff 6 months ago, we never would have thought that that's what we needed to do. In fact, I don't know that I'd ever been on a Zoom call that wasn't with Don Smith before that. So, I don't know.
And wings.
Yeah, wings. I don't know. I'm just been very just taken aback at how God is still moving in super powerful ways when we all feel like we kind of are stuck. And our church has done a really great job of leveraging, the technologies to be able to make that happen.
Now, the one thing that we are trying to look to take that and move that forward with is still the same question that we had back in the day when we kind of put streaming on hiatus. Is now, the longer this goes and the more this becomes like methodology and routine and this a normal way of how we do what we do, the fear is that people will start to think that watching something on the weekend has become church. And I think we all know that that's not church. It's partly church. It's part of the ingredients. What's the whole thing? So what do we need to do? What are the other elements we need to do to make people feel like wherever they're, and our connection, it's all around the world that people are watching on the weekend. So how do I find a way to make those people not feel like, okay, that you don't either need to go to a place and we kind of supplement your experience. If you used to go to Hope, but you moved somewhere else, and so you still want to stay connected, awesome. But we still want you connected with the local community. Or how can we become a virtual local community? Is that a thing that we can do, and can we do it well? So we are probably spending the next 3 months trying to figure that out and see in our context, could we find a way to, we know we'll do something, because we'll never go back to not having an online campus. It's just gonna be too much of a norm for people. But it can't just be the weekend I got to watch Sunday and therefore I checked off my church box for the week. So we've got to figure out what are the other things that need to go alongside that to make it feel like a holistic picture of the church.
Thanks, Don. We're going to have to leave it there for now. I just want to thank Aaron Schwint from Generations Church in Jupiter, Florida, Justin Manny from the Summit Church here in the Raleigh-Durham area, Larry Leak from Crossroads Fellowship, also in Raleigh, John Spicer from Damascus Road Community Church in Mount Airy, Maryland, in the DC area, and Don Smith from Hope Community Church here in Raleigh. So for Church Production Magazine, my name is Brian Blackmore. Thank you so much for watching.